Welcome to Fasting Space. So nice to have you here today. Grab a mug and join us in Fasting Space as a fasting hangout today. Whether you're here with me live or you're here on the replay, try to create a little space in life today. Maybe it's just a few moments here. At the start of the day, maybe you're tuning in at the end of the day, some space in your day where you say, I need a little space just to kick back, center the thinking a little bit on our health process, on a wellness process. That's Fasting Space. That's Fasting Space, our session. That's Fasting Space in the body. Space to reset body and mind. That's what we want. How is the energy for you? How would you say today on a spectrum of doing versus being? Where would you put yourself, or where would you desire yourself to be? Doing versus being. I say my energy is way over on the being side. We gotta just be for a while. That's how I feel. You let me know where you are at. It's the total inverse of where we started the week. Started the week, I was way over on the doing side. I spent a lot of time over the weekend putting together that talk on GLP-1s, my history with GLP-1s and prescribing, and the fascinating moment that we are in with it, I say. Did a lot of thinking of that. And that was a lot of doing. Put together the talk, do the talk. Flowing through the week has been, to me, a little bit winding down. Now let's find a little openness. That's how I feel. The culture is such a thing where we are right now that is like, do. And I think even in the fasting space, we can get hit with that. Another thing to do, so much to think about. It's like, what is the timing going to be? When's the meals going to be? How do we handle like this and that? Take a deep breath here today. Fasting is nothing. Fasting is a subtraction. Fasting is about doing less and taking the pressure off. Maybe just as simple as grab a mug, join in with some folks who are moving in the direction of openness. That's Fasting Space. Like the door is open in the body. That's what I say. Say, feels like energy in the body locked up in a room. Say, how do we get it out? That's the weight loss process. So we're trying to grab that energy, use it up, release it. To me, a fasting space, like opening up the door. Let the energy flow out. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. If you're feeling in a day where it's like fasting is like, oh, I'm opening up this space and the energy is going down here, and we're struggling through it. Hey. Maybe there is a space when you're practiced at it. If you're used to it, if you have a history and experience, you can flow through a space like that and still find energy on the other side. But if you're in a space, if you're new to it, if you're trying to build an appreciation, a relationship, an understanding, never force anything. Never force it. You want to give something like that a lot of space. Have a lot of grace for yourself. Say, hey, look, I tried to open up this space. Wasn't quite flowing here. Made it to this point. Look what comes after that fasting space. An incredible opportunity to nourish the body with healthy, nutritious food. What a blessing that can be for the body. Both of these things, isn't it amazing? I'll tell you, health can come to the body through nutrition and its absence. How fascinating is that? Really beautiful space. This is the cycle. Remember, we were talking yesterday. Most of the time we think of things in a straight line, but isn't life a cycle? And don't we flow through so many things? The seasons showing us. Music showing that. Even just the rhythm of some gentle thing in the background like this. You can hear it. Some back and forth. That's like eating and fasting. It's like a dance in the body to me. Love it. I had a dream last night. In the dream, I was doing the show today because I was like, man, I've had all the thinking, all the doing cranked up. I was like, I don't know if I don't even want to read something, you know? I couldn't even read. I'm a big reader, you know? I read a lot. But even last night after the week, I was like, I don't know if I can even read anything. I was like, you know, that's okay. We can flip on the switch and we give some space. I give some space to myself. We'll just let some thoughts come out. Give space to anybody who is passing through and wants to share a thought. In my dream, I had nothing to say, and no one had anything to say. And in the dream, I sat there, and I don't know, I typed something in to the chat. Some beautiful thought. It was something like, even without words, you know, fasting space is happening, right? Both in the body, right? You say one on the very most reductionist thought, fasting space, just killing some time so that fasting is happening in the body. That's an idea, right? You're trying to, if you are struggling with a food craving, what do you do in it? Well, look, we got 440 some episodes of fasting things on this channel now. Is it pop one of those on? Just tune into a thoughtful space, gonna help you through it, you know? So like that's one idea. Sessions and spaces and thinking to help you through a fasting space. So that you can actually do it. But then we try to make it a little more than that, you know? It was like a little bigger thinking. Anyway, the thought in the dream was like, even with no words, like, especially in the live, like, or, you know, format, or whenever you're listening to it, it's like, oh, space is happening. People coming together into this space, even with no words, like, it's like, no, there's still value here, you know? Even in this digital format, you know? It's amazing, you know? It's like we're spending some time together. There's just value in that. That is a beautiful thing. Is real social media. That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, Fasting Space Live is real social media because it's media, right? It's like we're on a media platform of some type, and I was like, but it's like, it's real, you know? It's real. I was laughing the other day, you know? As you put yourself online, you get a few cynical comments. Sometimes I get comments coming in. Are you AI? I bet we get more of that in the future. There's AI everything. Say, I think you are AI. Oh, it just makes me laugh. Real social media, I put my email, drz@simplefasting.com. Shoot me an email, and then you can decide for real. Is this Dr. Z AI or real Dr. Z? You get a real Dr. Z, I tell you. I put my email in there because, I did the GLP-1 talk at the beginning of the week. I got some real thoughtful emails. Thank you to everybody who sent me an email. And a lot of people, a lot of people on my tiny channel experience here resonating with that talk. I really liked it. I mean, I think the whole thing, I've tried to be very thoughtful and balanced about the whole thing and to share. I think there's real benefit to it. It's a real challenge, spectrum. I think that is the reality of it. I was at 2 social events over the week. And, people making small talk. Oh, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do some YouTubing and some doctoring. Try to help people move toward health. And, as soon as I say that, people just, both of the times, 2 people I talked to each of these different things. Each of them, the first thing they asked about, oh, what do you think about a GLP-1? What do you think of Wegovy? Each of them, we had this huge talk, and so then I brought up the phone and showed people the talk. Was kind of fun. They're like, oh, I definitely got to go to watch that, and then people shoot me an email about it. So it's been cool to have that as a resource already. When you look at the views, YouTube views, I don't get too many of those compared to some people. Wish I did, but it's just interesting. You look at the views. There's like 10 times more views on the GLP-1 talk than the one that followed it. Isn't that interesting? I followed it up with Gather Round, the missing prescription community in healthcare. Loved that. Like, how do we create community and start to leverage the human spirit to help people actually do the things, that we want to do? Isn't it hard to do? Wouldn't it help to have a team that you could participate in? This is just a thought. People want to watch the GLP-1s, on the YouTube land. People would tell you got to lean into that. I get that. But I don't want to sit around and do GLP-1 talks all day. This is like the whole point of the talk was like I kind of walked a bit away from that, so it's okay. A lot to think about. Yeah, here's the line. Oh, I never finished my thought about the dream. In the dream, I went live. I did this whole thing, but I never talked. I just typed in some things into the chat about space without words and sharing time. And it was my most popular show ever. That was the dream. Just stop talking, create a real space. That made me laugh. That made me laugh. Maybe we should try it. Maybe we should. I kind of like the pattern though. Hit something, hit a big talk if we can at the beginning of the week and then flow through it. What else did we do this week? Did the talk, why I stopped prescribing GLP-1s for weight loss. And then the community thinking, and then 2 sessions back to back from The Mountain Is You. Learning to trust yourself. Journey toward inner peace. I super loved that because that's the journey that I am on. Boy. I was finding some super gratitude for that. Just before I turned the camera on here, I was having a moment of gratitude I was looking at, I'll just grab it for you, why not? I got, when I left the university, some very kind people made me this little word cloud tree for Dr. Z, and I was looking at that. Shout out to Sarah Benedict, especially if you happen to come through. I do love this. I look at this and I reflect on the time at the university, such a huge chunk of my life. So many beautiful things that I tried to bring to that whole practice. Everything that I am bringing, all the experience, try to channel it in simple fasting, take things up levels. But these words mean a lot to me. It's just everything, you know, so much of what I care about. Wellness, right in the middle of the tree. Wellness, Dr. Z Wellness. We are, that's the vibe. Everything that we try to do, help people. Be well. This really is beautiful, man. They just collected words from all of the staff. Marie, hello. Yeah, this is a nice keepsake. Pretty much my only one. The one I really love. Look at all the words that fill in around it that support it, you know? I do just love it. The first one underneath it, meditation. How fantastic. I love that is the first word that comes under there. I've especially built that out since I left. You know, this is what I was saying. This is why I grabbed it, because it's like the personal wellness that I have. I try to bring so much wellness to everybody at the university, but then my own personal wellness, not too hot. And having so much gratitude. That's what I was saying. This moment, before I turn the camera on. You know, I've had, you know, if you're following along with me on the channel, I've had a very rough stretch, man. Lyme disease is just brutal. I don't know, you know, we have, there's a recency bias, you know, that we tend to place more weight on things that have recently happened to us. The intensity of things in the past can tend to diminish over time. But I feel like this was just one of the very worst things. I said, give me COVID twice. I don't want Lyme disease. But, man, I'm feeling so much better today. Oh my gosh, we're rounding a corner. Let's just think of some of these words on here. Collaborator. Oh yeah. I'm going to do a lot more collaboration in the future. I really want that. Minimalist. You got it. Spirit. Yes. Whole person. Oh man. More whole now. That's the thing. Of so much gratitude. I was like, I can't believe it when I was thinking about head off. I spent, you know, I had the time at the university was really broken into two sections. The first section was really beautiful. You know, we had a really good run. It was the type of thing where it was like, I wake up every day in that space and I was like, I can't believe I get to go do this. Like, this is great. And even in the difficulty of it, of managing through the early innings of an opiate crisis, you know, man, that was intense, but I loved it. And helped a lot of people in it. But then the second half, wasn't quite like that. I was feeling so much gratitude. This is like getting back into that place. I was like, I can't believe I'm just getting up here. I just chat with some people online, do some thinking about things like this: wellness, simplicity, the diet, strength, yes, health. I was like, we just reflect it, and then I'm going to dive in, and I'm going to be consulting with people. I was like, this is how I felt earlier in my practice. We have brought this around. This is beautiful. I want to put it, I kind of want it as a prop, I wanted that in here somewhere. I have so many things I want in this shot, I thought about it. I got all my fancy medical degrees, my medical school diploma, my residency, whatever you call it, the medical licenses, awards, all this stuff, And sometimes I think maybe my channel, I watch other influencers, they put all their stuff, in there. Sometimes I think, maybe my channel, maybe it really would be more successful. People would maybe get the vibe, would understand it if I put all that stuff in here. But to me, I just love this. This is simplicity to me. This is just very grounded sort of stuff. It's the vibe I want. Yeah. Oh, man. So good. Off the antibiotics, and I tripled up on the probiotics, and that really helped. And I should have done that earlier. I know better. I should have tripled up on the probiotics earlier. It would have helped. Maybe that's even why I'm feeling so much better now. Yep, just thinking about it all. Some open space to think today. Simple fasting. I got two things going on. Simple fasting, and I got Dr. Z method. I put the links in the thing. I talked with some marketers for a while. Bless the marketers if you ever happen to be coming through. Wasn't quite the boost I was looking for, but it's all right. It's all right. We're working on it. Dr. Z method. They said, you sitting in a black t-shirt in this blue room, that looks maybe like a sunrise or maybe like the sand on the ocean shore. That's what I'm going for. They're like, people don't get it, that this is like a doctor and a thing. Like, you need to do something more professional. So I did. That's Dr. Z method. If you hit the link here, you go over Dr. Z method, you see Dr. Z in his white coat. Okay, I still put the blue room. Blue is my favorite color. That's why I do it. I try to have a little fun with it. This room is actually gray. Why did I decide to paint it gray? I don't know. But I turn it blue with my pretty blue lights. I turn the blue lights on and make it blue anyway. I had a consultant when I was putting this together. I had a video consultant say, well, how do you shoot a video with a camera and the lights and all this stuff? And I was like, I want to shoot some blue and put a gradient on it. And they're like, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to get sick of it. Everybody just gets in a video when they do stuff like that, and then you'll turn it off. And I guess that's true. That is what people do. But I don't know. So far, I'm liking it. So far, I'm liking it. It is true, I watch every other sort of video person. Nobody's sitting in some blue room with gradients and glowing light strips and stuff. But to me, it feels peaceful. That's the vibe I'm going for. Like the sand on the ocean, like the beach in the sky, like a sunrise coming up, New day is dawning. It's optimistic. We are creating a vibe. I hope. Good things are coming. You know what I mean? In health. We just lean into something beautiful, fasting space. It's good for the body, good for the mind. Create some space from the distraction and the things. Oh, here I'm looking at the week. All that came out. Inner peace, right? Learn to trust yourself. Spent a lot of time in my life with a feeling of like, you should just step out, you know? You used to be so happy here. Now it's so difficult. Like every day is a struggle. You can just step out. But then you don't trust yourself, you know? Didn't trust myself, I know. And then there's not an inner peace, right? This is the session. I loved that section. Mountain is you. I'm embarrassed by it. Must have been, I don't know. Did 5 years flow by like that? Every day having a feeling like this just isn't in alignment anymore. But there's fear, you know, fear keep us from stepping out. Fear keep us from listening to a inner voice that deep down that we can feel it. Yeah, each of these sections, then we followed that up. No way to lose. The space between the scales. Step off the scale. I love that, you know, in a weight loss space. Step off the scale, and then they were specifically getting in these two scales maybe we rate ourselves on, peace versus happiness. So often we think, step back from happiness a bit. Find peace. Flows around in a circle is actually the path to actual genuine happiness. See, it's like a circle. Love that. Learn to trust yourself. We don't trust ourselves so many times because we're fearful of it. What if we're wrong? What if something bad happens? What if everything is not okay? That's like what these sessions were all about. That there is actually a deep place within us where we know that things are okay and they will be okay, even if they're not, you know. This is not okay. Time is not okay, but it's still okay, you know. When we can find that place of inner peace and strength. Love that. I ended up getting very sick at the university with an autoimmune disease. I think I brought that up on the channel. Got this crazy autoimmune disease there. See, there was really terrible. What a journey it was to learn from that. Some real misery from an autoimmune illness when your own body is attacking you. Whoa. Boy, is that crazy. Here, have I shown you this book? Don't I have this? I've talked about this book before, The Myth of Normal. That's a big book. I want to do some sessions on that. This might be one of my favorite books because Dr. Gabor Mate and his son, Daniel Mate, Trauma, Illness, and Healing in a Toxic Culture. That book taps into a lot of stuff that I really, believe. That what we are experiencing now, this moment, not normal. There's a myth. There's a myth that this is normal. And toxic culture, that's my experience. Trauma, illness, and healing. Wow. Very powerful book. And I learned in that book some very fascinating data on the incidence of autoimmune disease correlating with stress and especially high stress occupations. Fascinating. I just started seeing myself in a lot of the writing of that book as he's like talking through, like, here are the types of people that are often developing autoimmune illness in so many ways. I was like, oh, I'm kind of like fitting the profile that he's painting here. And then then the chapter in this book that really started changing things for me, where he shares his perspective on disease as teacher. What an incredible concept. He's like, disease is not what we think it is. That's what the book shares. Disease is often a communication from the body. There was some hard stuff to read. I'm like, is that true? Is that real? I don't know. But I started leaning into it. And I say, if disease is a message, maybe it's one we don't want to hear. Maybe it's like tough love. That's what I came to see. I took that into my own life. I was like, if disease is a message, what is it telling me? It's telling me, it's like, for year after year after year, you're like, have this message that you can feel that is like, whatever it is, the body, the spirit, the mind, like deep down in this core place where we say that there is knowledge, and you don't listen to it, It's like, the body is trying to get some attention here, is trying to tell you, and is like, you don't listen for 5 years, like, we got to get the attention. Well, an autoimmune disease will do that. Whoa. I got the message. And start moving toward it. Start listening. Realize so many of the things that I tell other people to do, I don't actually practice myself, It's like, I don't have very good wellness routines, actually. Especially, like, I do some exercise, but not a lot of mental space, not a lot of self-care. I think the body just rebelled, Body is like, we are not going to go on like this. And then you come in with an autoimmune illness to the standard medical system, and the standard track, if you have ever been through it, or if you have friends, family through it, then they're like, we're going to put you on steroids. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. I've put so many people, on steroids. I've watched that. I was like, I'm not doing that. I can be fairly stubborn, I will tell you. I was having thoughts like, I think I'd rather die, actually, and I don't know. I don't know how far I would have actually pushed that. I don't think it's really true, but I gave it a good window, and I pushed it. But I lean into the book. What a miracle that book found me, because I leaned into that thinking disease as teacher and started listening. And I never took steroids, and I never went on biologic agents like people told me I was irresponsible for not doing. Instead, I shut almost everything down in my life. Everything over the top that I was doing. As medical director of my clinic, we gave that up, thank God. Bless everybody who took that over. Finished up my research program. Published that. I've given that talk. Check out the paper. Did not continue in the research program. Stopped teaching on the medical service at the hospital. So I love that. So much good stuff, but it was so over the top. Stopped consulting for the university weight management program that I helped started. Love that. That's incredible things. It was like, that goes away. Tapered down my primary care practice. And ultimately just step aside from all of it. Take all the effort that I was pouring into all these good things, actually give a little bit of self-care to the body, do a lot of fasting, space, hyper dial in on the dietary process. And give it all some space. And I'll say that process, took a couple years to do all of that. And as that process unfolded, I symptoms getting better, better, better. And I think it was 2 years before I didn't have any symptoms anymore. And now we're at least 3 years out from that. Don't have this condition anymore. And that's been an incredible journey in my life, I would tell you. It's an incredible journey that I've been through with autoimmune illness and its apparent resolution. And it is one of the things that really encourages me to sit in a space like this with people, just to offer it, because I just have to tell you, there's healing potential within the body and within our lives that we are not appreciating in our medical system, that we don't have space for it, both mentally, we don't even think of it, very few people experiencing it. Marie says, I remember in COVID, people always saying it's the new normal. I never accepted that. I've had COVID, but living apart from community is not normal. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I completely agree. I really despised that phrasing. That was disgusting in my view. Many people with autoimmune diseases seem to reach a point of everything crashing down around them and finally stop to listen to their body once they are diagnosed. Yeah. I'm not going to present any sort of perspective like, oh, everybody can just cure an autoimmune disease by just like chilling out for a while. I'm not trying to make something simplistic. The process that I went through to do this was extremely long and difficult, and I have no idea. It's still just a miracle that things have gone the way they have. So I only have my own experience. I have not had the opportunity in medicine to walk on a path like that with other people exactly. I have had a lot of experience prior to that with fasting bringing benefit to people with autoimmune disease. As I'm diving into it and thinking about it specifically with Crohn's disease and inflammatory bowel disease, I have had people, the more I think about it, where I was like, well, we've walked that journey specifically. So fasting, part of a process of openness, bringing healing to people. And I was dialed in on that even before my own personal process. So we were in that space. I guess I saw part of that too in that history. I was like, I've seen people get better from some things like this. I think this is part of why I was inspired to really hit it, to say, no, I am going to lean in. And I've seen some things like this for people. I'm going to make this happen if there's any way that I can do it. But that said, everything crashing down, and then we start listening. This is the idea of the book. That disease is a teacher. One of the examples is like the heart attack, right? And I've seen this so many times, in medicine. It's like someone is on an extremely unhealthy path, right? And then the heart attack happens, and what do people say? Like, that was the wake-up call, And then everything changes, right? People like that is like, sometimes that's the level that it takes to really hit the change, And I've seen people 1 year out from a heart attack where it's like everything changed. Everything. The job, the lifestyle, the diet, the exercise, just everything. It's like you don't recognize someone. Now, not everybody is like that. Some people get the message and some people don't. But yeah. of course, it's just like a foundation. It is just the foundation. Like we literally are what we are eating. So important. It's like ultimately important. We are what we eat and we are what we don't eat. I really loved the session we did, I don't know, a couple months ago. What did I call that? Make fasting a part of you. That might be one of my favorite sessions, I think. Make fasting a part of you. And we're just looking at the balance, the inverse between we are what we eat and we are what we don't eat, and that both of these things in a fashion incredibly valuable and healing to the body. And we need each of them, you know. I will say we need each of these things in our life. The most powerful nutrition that we can get. It's just incredible when we think of society. Here's like a super myth of normal, you know, is just how far food has fallen, you know? Like we turn back the clock even 100 years. It's like there's no such thing as organic food, you know? People's like, oh, is it organic? It'd be like, there's just food, like the stuff that comes out from the earth. Like we still had like just soil is so nutrient dense, it hasn't been depleted, you know? And there's no such thing as a chemical fertilizer, a synthetic herbicide. Is it just nothing like this? Everything pure. Everything the way it is supposed to be. Nothing genetically modified. Nothing where people are like, oh, nature been having cycles for millions of years, but you know what? We know better here. We're just going to take these genes from like, you know, some bugs and put them inside of the corn and like, you know, it's going to be great. Oh man, what could go wrong, you know? What could go wrong? And if you don't like it, you are an ignorant Luddite who's opposed to technology. Okay, you know. But we're not exactly flowing in too much of a peaceful, healthy direction, are we? No. This is not normal. Not normal for just large swaths of the population to be sick and having diseases and all these things. It was like we look in history, okay, there's like multiple things true in the modern moment. Life expectancy now is like longer than it was, okay? So much of that, though, due to the fact of the incredible advancements in antibiotics, most of which were taken from plants. That's the thing. And a lot of it taken from the Amazon, amazingly, as I was studying in Peru this spring. And so there's something we can be very grateful for, right? I'm certainly not opposed to medicine or technology. Absolutely not. I'm very happy for a CT scanner, for example. When I had this Lyme disease here and this stupid infection, you know, bless the pharmaceutical company that made the doxycycline that killed this nasty stuff, you know. It hit one of the nerve roots in my back, and I just had horrible pain for like 3 straight weeks from this inflamed nerve in my back. Like when this started, I mean, it was just incomprehensible. Why did my back hurt so bad? It's like before I got diagnosed, like it wasn't clear what was happening, you know? Doctor is thinking like, well, this is pretty weird, you know? I was like, they were like, you know, like you might have some tumor compressing something. And so they just popped me in a CT scanner. And so then I was like having a mini panic attack. I was like, oh my God, like we don't need that. Like we just pop you in a CT scanner and we just see that everything's okay. And they're like, no, it's fine. It's like, well, check it off the list. I was like, I'm pretty grateful, you know, for that. Leaning into veggies, proteins, healthy fat for my brain. Yeah, it's just, you gotta do it. I got to tell you, my experience, I don't know what it all was with this whole process, but just, I felt if it was the lack of sleep, because I didn't sleep for so long with this discomfort. But I've been leaning super into nutrition like this, and especially I've been cooking with fresh turmeric, anti-inflammatory, and I gotta say, that just feels so good. That is getting some real anti-inflammatory in the body, not even turmeric powder, just the actual root, fresh. That is some powerful stuff. And that was just opening my mind too, as I was feeling so bad. And so I was sitting here doing all this research. I was like, I have got to take my nutrition to another level higher. I eat really clean. I don't eat anything basically that is industrially produced. And if I ever do, I regret it. Like I was telling you, I was at 2 social events this week, and one of which they had a pie, a French silk pie from this specialty bakery in Madison, which long ago we used to go to, and I would buy these pies. They are incredible. And I was like, man, I remember when we got there, they're like, they had it catered from some Mexican place, and we're going to have this stuff. And then later we got this pie from this place, and I'm just like, oh no. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to not be able to eat that. And so I was having these thoughts in my mind. I was like, it must be 7 years since I had a pie from this place. And so then I was having this big, debate with myself. And I was like, shouldn't I just not have the pie? Because you know how it'll be. You'll love it, and then you'll feel worse later. And then you'll love it so much, and it's going to plant the idea that, we should start doing that more, and shouldn't we just cut it off at the thing? But then, I'm having this big internal battle that is just you are super dialed in. You can have a pie once every 7 years, for goodness sake. Don't be such an extremist, and you've been through a rough stretch, and shouldn't you just have a pie? And so I was just sitting in this thing of this environment, and then I was reflecting on this, internal dialogue. I was like, look how important it is. Look how much the environment affects this. I was like, if I was just hanging out at home, or if I was hosting a thing and we didn't have this, the thought never would have come to my mind. I haven't thought about this place in 7 years, and look at me here now. I'm having this giant internal battle instead of enjoying myself here about whether I'm going to have a pie or not. And then you're here, and there's 20 people, and everybody's eating a pie, and then I'm like, okay, I'll just eat the pie, It's I want to be polite, and it looks so good, and then won't it be good? I mean, you never had a French silk pie like this. It's just incredible. And so then I ate it, and I'm like, this is one of the best things I've ever tasted. But then I'm halfway through it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to regret it, actually. And then sure enough, then I didn't feel so good. I was like, I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is incredible. And then, then an hour later, my stomach also was kind of like, oh, that was not so good. So then I was inspired. I was like, I hope it's at least 7 years till I do that again. I don't need to do that. I just don't need it. I am sitting here trying to dial in with my fresh cooked turmeric and ginger, garlic, onions, every thing, trying to bring all these nutrients, the highest quality into my things. I was like, I just don't need this. This isn't helping me recover and get back to crushing a health path. I was like, that's what I want more than anything, right? I want to feel good again, and this is not helping. So 2 steps forward, 1 step back that day, but it is a big reminder to say, we don't need it. Yeah, and I'm fresh off of this. A nerve pain is worse than muscle pain. Man, it is. It's just terrible. People don't know. unless they have had it. Yeah, so glad it resolved. And then I'm thinking in this space, I'm like, a pie not going to be helping me. I've just finally gotten in a space where I can sleep again and I can feel again. Good again. My brain's starting to feel better because I'm giving it these nutrients. I was like, I didn't need to do that. Like, I lost this battle, okay. But it's okay. It's like all the mindset that we are bringing to ourselves here. In these sessions I bring to myself in this experience, I say, hey, it's okay. Grace for ourselves. These are difficult. It is difficult. Isn't it difficult to navigate food circumstances? Isn't it actually really difficult? It's difficult for me. You're surrounded by 20 people. There's like everybody's doing something. You don't want to offend somebody. Something looking so good, and wouldn't you enjoy it? And like all these things and the history of it. And I just remember it's like, oh, didn't I enjoy this? We used to do it. So it's really hard space. And so I got my reminder of it. We keep stealing our resolve, building our mindset here so that we can navigate things like that in thoughtful ways. I brought a lot of thought to it. I will tell you, I brought a lot of thought to it. And this is just highlighting for me the importance, though. Create the environment. We got to create the environment that serves us, you know? If I'm putting myself in an environment like that routinely, man, is it going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. And I can just feel, right? I was in environments like that in the past, and it was very difficult. And I was having a different type of health experience. Now I'm out of that environment, so much easier to flow forward in health. It's like we're having different results, right? That's what I was talking about before I flipped on the camera today, just having a moment of gratitude. I was like, I'm having such a healthier experience now. I think about days, you know, where I was at, heading into a job that I couldn't stand anymore, you know, feeling terrible, having dishealth, collecting diseases, struggling in a space. And I was like, here, I'm feeling good again, you know, just in the short term, feeling good again. I'm so gratitude for that. But in the big picture, man, 2 years out from leaving the university, and I'm like, I am experiencing wellness personally now. And I hope that these sessions, fasting space, I want wellness to flow out to people. I'm trying to, you know, share stories, anecdotes, things from my life that have brought wellness to myself. Absolutely. Experiences that I have had. I've seen fasting, specifically the other side of it, always present together, two sides of the same coin. The healthy nutrition is two sides of the same coin. Like I said in the talk at the beginning of the week, the GLP-1 medicines, I've prescribed thousands of them. A truly thoughtful, grounded, powerful approach of nutrition therapy, which is a balance of eating and fasting, can do what people are trying to purchase with a GLP-1 medicine, with significantly less cost and risk. That's what I outlined in that position, the other side of the tail. People are having significant benefit, no doubt. You will talk to people who are having a good experience with these medicines. I'm very happy for that, right? And I think if we identify people appropriately, where we say, hey, this is something that is resonating with you, I'm not telling people not to do it, but I'm saying like the whole other spectrum of it, and the cost and the risk and the people who are having difficult experiences and side effects. It's like we especially need to help bring people back. I say, just look at this. Look at healing that can happen in the body and mind and our being by basically just taking a breath, taking a pause, and take just a tiny fraction of the huge money that is being spent on these medicines. channel it into hypernutrition, you know? Like I'm saying, the very best nutrition that money can buy, you know? Whoa, like you're saying, look at the money. Whatever it is. What was the number? $1,300 a month or whatever for a drug. You know, what is your personal food budget? Probably less than $1,300 a month, right? Like, hopefully, unless you're eating out all the time, which you shouldn't do, right? Simple meals at home, like Marie is saying. Get some healthy veggies, get some good proteins and fats, and cut out all the processed carbs, right? Take that. I mean, think of it. For $1,300, what kind of level of nutrition could you bring into the body? You could hire a personal chef, you know what I mean? For a few meals at least, you know, that's what I think. Like, bring in some real assistance, you know? And so many people, you know, maybe, you know, I was talking to a couple people at some of these parties where they're like, you know, they're on a GLP-1 and we're like getting into it, and their copay is like $300 a month. It's like the other, you know, $700 or whatever it ends up being coming from the insurance company. You know, that money's flowing. I was like, think if the insurance company was like looking at the numbers. So like, okay, we're shelling out $700 a month on this drug, you know. It's like, what if the companies were like, let's give people the option. We hire you a personal chef, 3 meals a month, instead cook you like incredible nutritious. These are not just normal chefs, right? These are people who are like chef as medical provider, you know, like where they're so dialed in. They're like, no, we are like sourcing the freshest local ingredients for their nutritive value and like medicinal purposes. I was talking with one guy at one of these parties who's like emigrated from Hong Kong and is like a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner from when he was in Hong Kong, and he came here and became a mathematician. But you know, we discount in Western medicine, say we have science now. We discount these cultural traditions that are mainly working with foods, right? And people found incredible health and healing through foods for thousands of years before this moment. It's like we need to find a way to merge these together where we take the benefits of as much benefit as we can from the cultural heritage of understanding what works. And see, like our bodies, like if you think about just the deep history of human beings, right? Our bodies have existed, human society, in this interrelationship and communication with everything. People with plants especially, you know, and form these relationships. I do think that that is the right word. And we've lost touch with all of it. Like, you know, we've lost touch with the deep wisdom and the history of these relationships of what is it like to actually be in the world and interact in a symbiotic way with it. Now, you know, I look at my crazy blue room, like we're saying, we're literally walled off from it, you know? And that's another thing that to me is like the myth of normal. Like, we're walled off. Certain benefits from it, you know? I sit here in this moment and I think, okay, pros and cons. Isn't it comfortable? And, no nasty tick is crawling in here, presumably. Although I was at an event the other day and a woman was telling me, it's like they were just lying in bed and then a tick crawled on them as they're in their own bed. Gross. They're everywhere these days. I was like, so you can see, I was like, oh, we're protecting ourselves. We wall ourselves off. But then on the other side of it, I was talking with a very interesting individual also at a different event a couple weeks ago, you know, about Lyme disease and my experience with this whole thing and the interesting, you know, history of people and symbiotic relationship with nature. We're talking about what was it like for indigenous populations here. Is like dealing with something like that. It's like I was wondering, did they have some sort of herbal treatment that they understood or practices? The other part of it is like before we like destroyed and radically disrupted the entire natural world, it's like everything was actually in balance. There weren't millions of deer everywhere fostering huge populations of these things because we hadn't cut down all the forests and replaced them with cornfields that helped the ticks really to foster. And so it's just kind of fascinating that actually as you dig into it, like it wasn't such a problem, Many other problems, right? It's complicated. There's some sort of bias. What is the bias about the past? We can glorify the past. We weren't there to experience life without antibiotics and these things, so we can romanticize it and say, so we want to balance it. Many benefits of our modern moment, many downsides. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the suggestion. I would love to do it. Let's absolutely do it. Let's talk about the importance of mitochondria. I would love to do it. I do have a list of talks, and it only grows. The more I do, the more I want to do. And I feel like I was just starting to get in a good groove with it before this illness came. But it felt really good to do this GLP-1 talk on Monday, and I definitely want this one to be on the list. And my own understanding of mitochondria is not as deep as I want it to be. I mean, I get them, right? And I can probably even sketch out the electron transport, through the mitochondrial membrane and get into the ATP production, system. So like I know a few things about it, but we gotta take it to another level. I really want to do it. So I really appreciate the suggestion. Yeah, it was one of the last things I did on the channel before my little hiatus. I put out the survey, what should the next talk be? What did I even put on it? We're talking, I've got half the talk written for a very thoughtful exposition of fasting-induced overeating, which is, the other side of this. Is why we never force anything, really want to do. I want to do that talk next because it just puts things to me in perspective. Like we want everything in balance of our whole approach to fasting, recognizing the power of it, and then recognizing because it is powerful, it is really interacting deeply with our emotional state, our relationship with food, so important. And then simple fasting, the big thing that I'm trying to do here, just recognize little bits of fasting, just like, eating twice in a day instead of 3 times, like just tremendous power here, tremendous thing. In the long term, so you take the pressure off, you go 2 meals is like the effect, for some people, still get pretty fast results, but for many people might even describe the effect as subtle, and all of that is okay. And we're not in a society that really appreciates subtle things, are we? No, like we are in a very intense culture, and when you can click a button and something even comes to your house the same day now, it's like, we put so much pressure on ourselves to take things to a different place so quickly. And so to me, that talk, I definitely want to be next. And I gave somewhere in one of my, our little talking, I gave kind of a summary of the idea of it. We'll put it into a formal talk. Somewhere I have a lot of the research done to give a talk on fasting and cancer prevention, and that's been a very difficult talk to give just because one of my friends has recently died of cancer, and that is, I've had a hard time thinking about it, but it is a really deep space to dive into and think about. I want to do that. And I have I do have 5 different GLP-1 talks that I want to do. I've done a lot of research, to go the next level down, like we're saying with mitochondria. I was like, we know about mitochondria, but we want to take things really deep and really understand it in a practical way, that isn't just knowledge of like, where is the Krebs cycle happening, but like, how do we use it to make our life better? I understand GLP-1s, I think, as well as, most other, primary care and weight management doctors, but there is like another level down, whereas like we want to like really dive into it, understanding GLP-1s, both the medicines and the natural GLP-1s, because the GLP-1 medicines are just synthetic versions of hormones that are existing in the body. They're in a subclass called incretin hormones, and these are produced primarily in the GI system, and they help us regulate appetite and GI motility and all kinds of things. But then we got receptors, in the heart and in the brain, and a lot of GLP-1 things happening in the brain. And it's really fascinating. And I found a really fascinating paper that was looking at the original discovery of incretin hormones. It was like in like 1904. And it's really fascinating. I did... some of the talks. I love diving into the deep medical literature of like what people were experimenting with and understanding like before so many of the sophisticated techniques were happening. And I don't know if I actually did a talk on it on the channel. I've given, when I've given talks in person, I've really dove into some of the early fasting literature on for type 2 diabetes. Even when people didn't understand that there was type 1 and type 2 diabetes, people, would see, like, how come some people with diabetes basically on such a more severe track and die, and especially kids, like, people just didn't understand it, And then people had no medicines, and all they could do was nutrition therapy, and then people say, oh, fasting. And I was like, how come some people with fasting is like profoundly helping diabetes, and some people it's not so much? And, it's obviously we're people teasing out type 1, type 2. It's just fascinating to read through the medical literature of that interaction. But then you go back into that same space, 1904, I think it was, people isolating these GI hormones, and so people discovering GLP-1, they didn't call it that back then, but they're discovering it and studying and starting to work with it even back then. Isn't that fascinating? So people say, oh, Ozempic, like we created something new. No, 120 years ago, people even working with this. Yeah, that's good. Got to do it. And then, my neighbors that had the tick inside, they don't even have a dog. And so I think I'm going to have to tick check, I don't know what, our shoes or what. And so then the history of GLP-1, we go in so deep on it, we realize people messing around with it back at the turn of the last century. Like, how incredible is that? And then there are these periods with it where people, because... incretin hormones come in a big section, and then they're chopped up in different hormones coming out of the same gene section. And so there's all kinds of things. I got into that in the talk on Monday on GLP-1s. What was it that, was it Pfizer that just bought out this little startup? That's what they do. They buy out the little guys and take their IP, that are digging into all these other incretin hormones, and so people trying to find the next GLP-1, right? Because we are in this incredible, space. And I'm not opposed to them. But the money and the cycle that is warping our medical experience here, I think, is something we just need. Thoughtful spaces. That's what I hope Monday's talk was. Thoughtful spaces just to center ourselves in the midst of it. Where we can say, what are some things that are really true here, and what is the balanced perspective that helps to put all these things in context, And this is one of the things that I am especially happy to be able to have the space to do it, And so, like, the next tick on that whole spectrum that is coming to me, right, I haven't finished the talk yet, to see when we can get to it. People started identifying incretin hormones, of which GLP-1 is one, in other animals, and they found them in bacteria, and they found them in lizards, and they found them in all kinds of things, and then they have different processes. And so it is fascinating to get into this deep history and see that, the original GLP agents were actually identified. I think it was in like Gila monsters or something like this. I have to get it there. So exenatide, that was the early ones in the early 2000s, were synthetic versions of like something like that, some lizard one. And that is pretty crazy to me. I think that was very fascinating to go through that development. And so then you'll see people out there, social media, I see these sorts of things, and people saying like, oh, you're taking like lizard hormones or things. It actually isn't anymore. So they humanized it. And like this is the whole progression when we go through it. Like we found some ones in like some bacteria, and then we found some lizard ones, and then people have taken these things and humanized it. And that might be an interesting cycle to go through. What does that mean, and how did they do it? So those are some of the next talks. Yeah, appreciate this thing. And we'll put mitochondria on the list. I don't know if I should, what the order will be. But we'll do the one for sure, fasting-induced overconsumption, right? Because something to help us all center that. Because I think that's a big lack that is like not, on YouTube right now. There's so many resources, so many perspectives fasting. But this is not a perspective that I think is on YouTube very much right now. It's just recognizing the other side of it. Just like GLP-1s, we can see, okay, the benefit to it, there's like more risk and other thing. Fasting has a curve like that. It's like fasting, obviously, tremendous benefit for people, tremendous. I am so into it. It's like we just want to make sure that we're not turning a blind eye to the other side. And when I've shared these discussions here, of course, people have said that. Yeah, if I lean into a fasting space too long, I'm not handling that, very well in that space. And so this is a sort of thing that I think a lot of perspective, cultural perspective and things can push us to even guilt trip ourselves, or to say, oh, am I like weak? Can I not handle it? We compare ourselves to other people. Look at these people online. They're having this experience, and then it gets all wrapped up into our emotional state because we wish things were happening faster than we want. And so it can push us into a space where we push the intensity of something into a space that maybe we're not completely ready for. It's like fasting, from my perspective, is a practice. It is something that we do, hopefully, I say, we learn to get in a routine with it. Fasting can be very intuitive. It can be very flexible. I was saying the other day, it's like shifting gears. We can shift into it. And I think there's a lot of benefit in actually doing some of that shifting, kind of leaning into it a bit and then downshift a little bit. So tremendous benefit in flexibility in fasting, but then tremendous benefit also in finding a routine. And this is kind of like a balance that we are trying to walk on our path, balancing the benefits of flexibility and the benefits of a routine. This is how things can become sustainable, right? I want people to get on a path, most of all, where they are not pushed into something, where everything is happening in a calm and centered space so that it can flow. I think so many of the times when we're taking that mindset, we're feeling all this pressure, both internally that we put on ourselves, externally that we have from comparison to other people. It can be pushing us off center, right? That's why I spend a lot of time on our sessions, try to get into the mindfulness space, try to live in the present moment, try to take the pressure off from every external thing. listen, like some of this thinking we did earlier in this session. What is that voice saying? This internal space, can we learn to trust ourselves, right? Learn to listen. Get enough of the distractions off that we can start to hear that voice, because isn't it subtle? It's like subtle until it isn't. And usually when it isn't, then it starts to become more unpleasant. But we want to find a calm enough space where we can hear that subtle sort of voice. Maybe that subtle voice in a space you say is saying, like, I don't know that we're quite up for this today. We find that edge, then we flip to nutrition, right? That's fasting space. Maybe sometimes if we're listening enough, the body is saying sometimes like, no, I think this is good. Like, let's lean into it a bit, because the body wants to have fasting space. Everybody, I really think, does in a big picture. Not everybody is like, in certain medical situations, but the way the human body is designed, in a fasting space, head out past 14 hours without food, in that space, you see, okay, DNA repair enzymes turning on. Like that's wild, It's like body uses that restful fasting space. It's like, do some maintenance mode. It's like, shouldn't we be having a DNA repair enzyme running? It's like, yeah, that's good. Then all right. So we know like there's good happening in that space. And we know it's a space where healing can be happening, where weight loss can be happening. So many positive things. So it's like, drill down into that space, learning to trust ourselves, finding a space of peace. Say, where is the energy at in the body? Can we hear it? And if the body's saying, no, let's do it, that's where you really want to lean into fasting from. No, let's do it. It's like a mindset of curiosity, openness, even like something fun, even something just positive. Then the energy can start flowing, never pushing through it, never white knuckling something, An exploration. What fasting is to me, an exploration of energy in the body, an option to choose when we want to quiet the noise a bit. How do we really quiet the noise? In the body, in the mind, is like, well, same thing, Mind is body, one entity. It's like when the body's always working, we don't appreciate how much work the body just does for us. We eat something, we say, oh, done, ate something. Body's going to be working on that, chewing on it internally like 12 hours. And sometimes the body say, I need some maintenance mode here, right? We got to shut this down, run the repair systems. And I know I can really feel that now. I've been practicing fasting over 10 years. It's been a part of my life. It was, you don't start as an expert at something. The longer I have gone through it, I feel personally like the more of a relationship I have with it. And the less it feels like something that is intense, and the more it feels like something that is just a gift. And that's what I want people to experience. Fasting is a practice, something that is a relationship over time that you can develop, that can serve you. Appreciated the emails over the week. You got my email here, drz@simplefasting.com. Always happy to have a note from anybody. Of course, throw notes in the comments. Love that. We have a public discussion about it. Want to have a private discussion, shoot me a note. I was watching, one of the things I watched over my illness when I was lying on the couch, I found some video on health influencers. And it was just going through different influencer folks, and I think it was called something like how influencers use parasocial something to, I don't know, build their I don't know what, but the parasocial phenomenon. And then it had, have you seen Mel Robbins. Do you know Mel Robbins? It had this montage of Mel Robbins, like all these cuts. I don't know how she starts her show or how she ends it, but this is like the #1 podcast in the world or something now, Mel Robbins. And it was like a minute straight of her just saying to the camera, I love you. I love you. And it just kept going. And it was just talking about how she uses all these things. Like, she doesn't know any of these people, you know? It's like, this guy was just ruthless. He's like, this person doesn't love you. This person is making millions of dollars off of you. And I just laughed about it. It was just a talk about how so much even of like the influencer space is fake, you know? And it's like people trying to use psychological things to manipulate people. Now, I don't know what it is like. I can't even imagine. What is it like to be speaking and saying, oh, millions of people going to listen to you? This person, maybe you try to take the other side. Maybe she's just trying to be nice, you know? She's trying to create an environment where it is like just giving people an encouragement, you know? I don't know. Maybe there's another side. This is a pretty cynical video that I don't know, YouTube showed to me. But my only thought is I'm not an AI, and I'm not trying to use any parasocial tricks on you. I'm just sitting here in my basement sharing my thoughts. And hopefully there's some benefit to that. And unlike some giant influencer at the present time, you can just shoot me an email and it's like real, and we can actually talk. We can actually have a conversation and appreciate the emails and thoughts over the week. Free mugs for viewers. I got free mugs for viewers. If you haven't gotten your mug, shoot me an email. I send you a sleek little simple fasting mug. Have your coffee in a something that help you really center the thinking, you know, in a grounded space. So yeah, I just tell people throw a comment on the channel, say hi, so I know who you are, and then shoot me an email, drz@simplefasting.com. You can always, there's also a contact button on simplefasting.com. Shoot me your address. I send you a nice mug. That's why I call this grab a mug and join us, connect around, share some thinking. This session today felt really good. You know, I didn't even plan anything. And I say we just let the thoughts flow and connect with people as people come in. It's felt beautiful. And here, look, an hour 20 we've been just chatting. That's an hour 20 of fasting space in the body, you know? And to me, the fasting space has felt really good, you know? Feeling good to me. Like Marie said, the antibiotics have been good to get that out. Wish everybody a great weekend. Yes, thank you for that. Have a great weekend. Whenever you're watching this, have a great day. Think on some of these thoughts. And I will look forward to being back with you, doing some more thinking and exploring of this space with you in the future. Be well, everybody.